again, I'm going to do screen design in Photoshop, but you might want to consider using Illustrator, whatever you feel comfortable with. It doesn't matter to me. What's important is that you make some color screens that show what your design is going to be. Okay, so you might want to prepare. Of course, you would have your drawing in front of you. I have my drawing in front of me. I'm just showing you techniques, but you should have your sketches and your stuff in front of you and your ideas. Some things you might also want to have before you start, and here's my example here. I'm going to use some photos, so I've downloaded some photos that I'm going to use in my designs. You can see them here. Where did I find my photos? Of course, I found a lot of photos for my example on Flickr. Okay, again, I'm using Flickr, F-L-I-C-K-E-R, Flickr, like that. And on Flickr, you can type in summer, okay? And then when you're done typing in summer, you should think about using one that you have rights to possibly use. How do I find photos that have rights that I could use? If you go over here where it says any license, do you see where it says any license here? If you click on there, you can use commercial use and modification allowed, right? And so, you know, even though you're stealing some pictures, it'd be great if you could use your own pictures. It at least is, you know, using something that somebody has posted online and says, hey, you can use this in your project. Okay, so even though I'm stealing pictures, at least I'm going through and trying to do the right thing. And there's also some other copyright. After you click on there, it says sometimes you got to read this over here, and it might tell you, you know, what is it? You can share, copy, redistribute, mix. So sometimes they say they want you to give them credit, you know, but this is a student project, so it's okay. But I'm just pointing out where you can get photos. Of course, if you use the Flickr photos, there's a download button right here in the corner. You click on it, it tells you what size you want. You can use large size, small size. You can change the size whenever you get it into your app. You can crop it, do whatever. You know what I mean? Okay. So this is the photos that I downloaded. I downloaded there. The other place I've also downloaded things. Where did I download things? I thought about how I would include them in my app. I went to the material design icon page. I believe I linked this up to the canvas. I know this is on Canvas, right? I've demonstrated this before. So even before I went into Photoshop, I went through here and found the icons that I would use in my app. So I went through and I found the ones that I wanted to use. You know, I have some arrows, I have some location, there's a location one, there's a whole bunch. So take some time, go through and find some of them. I recommend using the SVG and not the PNG. SVG, and the reason why, you can use the SVG inside of Photoshop and it will keep its vector information so you can scale it to any size that you want without it being pixelated. Okay, so let me use an example. Here we go. Let's say I wanted to use the RSS feed. Oh, no, I don't want to use that one. Let's see. Which one do I want to use? I already got the forward. I already got the mail one. Maybe reply. How about that? I want to use the reply one. I would click on the reply, come down here where it says SVG, click on that, and it's going to ask you to save it on my computer, right? Okay, so I would use and save the SVG version. Okay, let's go to Photoshop. So those are the things I prepared ahead of time. I had my drawings, know what I want to make. I have my photos that I stole off the internet, or I took myself, and I got the icons that I wanted from at least the material. I'm sure there's a variety of other icons you can find. These are just the ones that Android provides for you. So then, and here's my icons here. So let me start from scratch. Again, I'm going to start in Photoshop. I'm using 2015.5. I'm not sure what version you have. You know, Adobe keeps adding more app things to their product because they need to keep competing with other tools out there that are a little bit more for wireframing and color comping, like Sketch and those other ones that people have been talking about. So they've been including some very good features, and I'll talk about that. One of them, of course, is adding multiple artboards. So if I come over here to File New, again, if you want to choose the artboard, if you come over here to where it says right here, you have a whole bunch of options. Instead of using the mobile app design one, this mobile app design one actually has some limitations here. The one that I see that you have more options is not necessarily the mobile app design one, but if you go down to where it says artboard right here, this one. If you go to where it says artboard here in the document setup here, and then you go to artboard right here, you'll notice you got a whole bunch of other ones. Okay, you have a whole bunch of other ones. So if you want to see more options than just the ones in the app design section, go to artboard and it'll give you more options. I was just choosing Android right here. You could choose the iPhone 6 if you want, and so on. I just chose Android. Okay, and when I was done, I hit OK. And let me close some of my windows here so we can clear my screen a little bit here. Okay, so I have one artboard. Again, it has the same features that with Illustrator. If you hold down the space bar on the keyboard, it gives you a hand. See that? And you can move your windows around. So I use that a lot. I'm going to design, let's say, 3 screens right now. You should actually design more than 3 probably for your project unless you have a really simple one. And so I'm going to duplicate the artboard. To duplicate the artboard, I can actually just hold down the Option key. See my art? So I haven't done anything. I haven't used any tools yet. I'm using the Move tool, and I'm going to hold down the Option key. If you hold down the Option key, you can click with the left mouse and oh, isn't that how I duplicated the artboard? I swear I duplicated the artboard that way. Maybe I have to use what did I use? I swear I duplicated the artboard that way this morning. Artboard tool. I'm sorry. It's under the pull down menu where it says Move tool. See where it says Move tool? There's an artboard tool there. I believe maybe that's the one I used. No? Damn. I swear I duplicated that. Oh, maybe I didn't have the tool right. No? Oh. I don't know what I clicked on. Oh, I clicked on the name. There we go. I clicked on the name Artboard up here. Clicked on the name Artboard. There we go. And I duplicated it. Okay, again, I don't know. It was there's one called the Artboard tool, or maybe the Move tool works too if you click on the title. Let's see if that works. Yeah, that works. So you can use the normal Move tool, but you got to click on the name up here. So I duplicated it. What's that? I have 3 screens. Over here, you'll notice it makes in the layers window. If you don't see layers, they're always under window layers right here. And I'm going to go back to the Move tool here for a moment. You'll notice that I have different artboards over here. So you can group your artwork into their kind of folders over here. Do you see in the layers window? And you can name them. Instead of Artboard 1, maybe this is going to be my summer design. I'm going to do different seasons. Maybe this is my winter design. And then maybe this is my, I don't know, what do we got? Fall or spring design. Okay. So we have, you can name them, which makes sense, right? Right? Naming them like that. Okay, so let's start. First thing I'm going to do is put my color box at the top. Again, I've downloaded remember the colors, and I showed you how to download the colors from the Android site, right? Remember that you can download the color palette and install it in your swatches. You install it. So if you download the color palette from Android, to install the color palette from Android is underneath here. Load swatches right here. See where it says load swatches right there? And then go and find the file that you downloaded, and it'll include it here. You can say replace swatches if you want to get rid of the existing swatches and just use the Android ones. That might be easier because then you won't be confused with the default one, right? So think about that. Okay, so I'm going to again, most of the things that I use are going to be the objects down here, these objects right here. So you got a rectangle tool and so on. I'm going to use the rectangle tool. I'm going to work on one design at a time, so I'm going to actually click on that design to make sure that I'm working on that design first. So I clicked on it, or you can click over here to make sure you're working on one design first. Then I'm going to use the rectangle tool, and I'm going to draw a rectangle. This is the top of my material design, right? Usually starts with the color at the top. And I'm going to give it my kind of a dark color. Remember, most of the material design is, why is it not changing? Oh, I got to go to properties. Open up the properties window. And in the properties window is where you change the color for the objects. And I'm going to choose kind of a blue. And remember, the material design, oh, that's not material design. That's not. None of these are material. I don't think I loaded the material design. That's okay. But I have a blue, and if you remember, the style for material design is mostly using white text on a color background, and the font is Roboto, right? So I'm going to use, now when you're working inside of Photoshop, try not to click inside a box. If you have an object, you want me to yell at them to turn it down? They got a movie going over there. I can yell at them. I'm good at that. Again, Roboto, be careful not to click in the box. If you notice when I put my cursor here, look. See how it turns to like this cursor with a little circle around it? It thinks you want to add the text to the box. We want to just put it on top, right? So I'm going to click down below here, and I'm going to type in my text. And what were we doing? This is what are we doing? Oh, we're going to put the date. So we're going to do summer. So let's do 7. What's a good summer date? 04 16. How about that? Again, usually with the we're using white for the font, and you should try and stick with common font sizes. Don't scale it, just because it makes it easy for you to redo it. I don't want to have bold. I'm going to use not thin, but I'm going to do regular Roboto. Okay, and I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. You can actually put your cursor over top here and drag. Whenever you're using and changing, sometimes you can drag. Notice how in the Adobe products you got this kind of dragging action right here. Okay, let's talk about, so I got my date. This is telling me what day is the weather. I don't know. I'm just randomly putting things in right now. Next thing I'm going to do is actually have location services at the top. So I'm going to bring in the location icon. Remember the SVG from the material design website? So I'm going to bring that in. Here's how I'm going to bring that in. I downloaded it already. Remember I said go and download the SVG. I'm going to go over here to where it says File, and I'm going to say Place Embedded. Place Embedded. In doing so, it'll allow you to choose the file, and again, I'm going to use the one for what did I say? Location, right? Location. Here it is. Location, right here. And I'm going to say place, and it's going to add, and it places it in there. That's fine. It's all little and it's tiny. That's okay. Remember, if it's SVG, it's going to be vector, so I can scale it. So it's tiny right now, but I can scale it. Hold down Shift key keeps it in perspective, right? So I can scale it. Then I can move it. Move it. I'm going to move it up here in this corner. This is my location icon, and I hate the rotation thing. Is always doing that. And when you're done putting it where you want, you either hit the checkbox up here, or you hit the move tool, and it'll ask you to take that effect. So I go and I click the little checkbox, and boom, it's there. The problem I have right now, though, is it black, right? And remember, my design, it has white text, and I want a white icon. So how do I fix this? Well, it's still vector. It still thinks it's a object like you would have in Illustrator. So I'm actually going to open this in Illustrator, change it to white, and then it'll automatically update inside of here. This is how you do it. You go to the Properties window. In the Properties window in Photoshop, you'll notice there is an option that says Edit Contents. Edit Contents. Again, I have this object, this SVG here. I can click on Edit Contents right here. What it's going to do is it's going to go and open it inside of Illustrator. It's going to open it in Illustrator. Once it's in it's tiny, that's okay. Remember, it's vector. Once it's in Illustrator, I can select it, and I can change it to white, or whatever color I want. You can change a color in Illustrator too, whatever color you want. Maybe you use your material design. They have a palette for Illustrator. Material design has a palette for Illustrator as well. Hit OK. When you're all done, you save. Don't change the name or anything like that. Just go save. Just go save. And then close it. And if you go back to Photoshop, it'll automatically be updated. Okay, so using SVGs inside of Photoshop is a good idea. I'm recording this, yeah? You guys can go back and watch it again later. Yeah, so I know you might have missed it again. I placed it. I can review. How I brought this in was I went under File, Place Embedded, not linked. I want it embedded so it becomes part of the Photoshop file. Well, let's bring another one in. I want to use an arrow. I'm going to use a skip arrow and previous arrow. This one, the back arrow, right? The back arrow. Place it in there. Here's I may change the size a little bit. Here's my back arrow. Change the size. It should probably be the same size as this. You should try and make things similar. When you're done changing the size, you hit the checkbox, right? Remember doing that? Checkbox. Here's my arrow. Of course, I don't want black and I want white. I can say Edit Contents. It goes to Illustrator automatically. I change the color to white. I save the file, and I just go right back to Photoshop. Go right back to Photoshop, and it's already been changed. Okay. Oops. You might need to move it here so I can see it. Okay. So you have all those wonderful icons from Google that you can download and use them in there. And of course, if you're going to use Illustrator for your color examples, your colored screen designs, you could just download the SVG and use it in Illustrator. Hey, you don't have to do any of this conversion thing that I'm doing, you know? It's in Illustrator already. Okay, so let's move on. Let's work with some images. I'm going to have a nice square image right here of my my day. Okay, and let's say today. Let's put some text on there. And I'm going to do another square. It's a little smaller. And let me give it a little bit darker color. Oops. You got to use your this right here. Let's give it a darker color. Okay, and let's put some text in there. We'll call it today. And I'm going to make it a little smaller, actually, font. Make it a little smaller. And I'm going to line it up with the edge there. And let's put in a, now I'm going to put in a picture. Make this a little bigger here. There we go. Now I'm going to put in a picture. To bring in your photos, remember we talked about the images. I'm going to use the same technique that I used to bring in the SVG. If you go underneath the File, Place Embedded Same technique, place embedded. I'm going to go and find the image. And what are we doing? Summer, right? Did I get a summer picture? Maybe I got it. Maybe this one's summer. Flowers are summer. Let's hope this one is a summer picture. It brings it in. You can scale it to whatever size you want. I'm going to scale it. I should have probably downloaded the higher resolution one, but that's okay. I'm going to hit the, when I'm done scaling it, I'm going to hit the checkbox. And so here is my photo. So again, the same way that I brought the SVG in, I brought the picture in. I used, again, to bring things in, use the file, place embedded, and then scale it to the size you want. Okay, now we talked about round edges. Round edges, right? We don't want a square, we want a round edge. So in this case, what we need to do is, there's several ways of doing it, but one way that I have found is to use a mask. Does anybody remember using masks? You've taken Jean's class before. She uses masks with her Photoshop, right? Okay, so I'm going to use a mask, but my mask is going to be a shape layer with the round edges. So I'm going to go and draw a rounded rectangle over top of my picture. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to start in the upper corner and I'm going to draw my rounded rectangle. Now little rounded edges, you can adjust the edges of the roundness. How do you adjust the edges of the roundness? You can double click on it, I think, or it's under properties, I think. Yeah, here's the roundness of the edges right here. So before you draw it, you can do that, and or I think you can adjust it later on too if you select it, and you can come over here and adjust the roundness of the edges. Now they're just 10 pixels. They're just slightly round edges. Okay, so how do I apply this mask to the image? You actually need to reorder it. I believe the image needs to be on top. So I'm going to actually put the image on top of the mask. Okay, so reorder in the layer window so the image is on top of the shape. Reorder so the image is on top of the shape. You can just drag around in the layer window to reorder things. Then if you right click on the layer of the photo, you can then say create clipping mask. Create clipping mask. And if I click on that, it will then use that shape that's underneath it to get rid of the things that are outside the shape. Do you see that? Okay, and now I have round edges. If I zoom in, I know you can't really see very well here. Let's zoom in, and you can see what it's using is that shape to give you nice round edges. Okay, so remember the photo is on top of the mask. I right clicked on there, and if you don't want it on there, you can go over here and say release clipping mask, and it goes back to normal. Or you want a clipping mask, you right click and say again create clipping mask. It makes a nice round edges. Now how do I get a drop shadow? Right? We want a drop shadow. Remember last class we were doing these nice little subtle drop shadows because that's what the material design wanted, right? Remember that? So I'm going to give it a nice subtle drop shadow. Let me move these things around, move some of these things around here. I'm going to give it a nice subtle drop shadow by using the on the mask and not on the picture. So you go to the mask, which is this round rectangle tool, right? This is the round rectangle that is the mask for the picture. I go to the FX right here where it says FX, and under the FX is a drop shadow right here. See the drop shadow? And it'll give me, and of course you can adjust these settings. I was showing you them last class. You can have a subtle one. You can make it bigger, move it further away or smaller. You can spread it if you want. You can change the size. Again, the material design is just a slight shadow, and you can change the direction here. So I want it on both the left or right and bottom side. So I changed this to a 45-degree angle this way, kind of 45-degree angle, so that the, yeah, whatever, 45 would be over here, I guess, wouldn't it? No, whatever. This direction. Think of the sun. Which way would the sun be going, right? The sun is going this way to get your shadow around the edges. So again, remember the shadow goes on the mask layer, not on the photo, on the mask layer. So you get a nice little shadow there. Does that look nice or what? You can barely see that. But there is a shadow there. It's subtle. Material design, it's not dramatic, right?
How to blur that a little bit more?
Well, there's an opacity. You can make it darker or lighter. I have it quite light. We're going to make it a little darker so you can see it.
Okay, and distance, right?
And then I think noise, maybe. Oh no, noise gives it a kind of spread. Size. Yeah, there's not much a blur effect to it. But that's a quick way of getting a shadow is what I'm trying to say. You apply the drop shadow under effects right here to the layer. In addition, I want to have, of course, my, I'm going to put the temperature in here, somewhere in here. So let's make an ellipse tool. I'm going to draw an ellipse. And why did that not fill? Oh, it's underneath. Where's the ellipse? Why did it draw ellipse there? No, I don't want that in there. I want it up here. Why is it? Uh-oh. Let me get rid of that ellipse. Yes. I want to... How about we make a new layer above? There we go. New layer. Right here's new layer next to the trash can. And then I'm going to draw my ellipse. There's an ellipse. I'm going to use the same colors that I have up here. Again, after I drew my ellipse, I can change the color in the properties window. And here's my dark blue. And then let's put in temperature. I'm going to put in some temperature. And so what would the temperature be in summertime? 72 degrees, right? Isn't that like the best temperature, 72? Does anybody know how to get the degree symbol? Option 8.
No, option shift 8.
I did something though, option 8. Option shift 8? Yes. Beautiful. Thank you. And then I'm going to drag that kind of in my thing. This is going to be my temperature box here. And I'm going to cheat and make it big by using the scaling option. And then that looks pretty good. So we got a nice box for our temperature. What else do we have? Today it's 72 degrees. We got a beautiful picture. What else would we have? We can do that over here. So here's how I would do a list of content. If you're using the text tool and you want to have a list of something like she just said there, you can actually come over here and draw a box right on top here with the text tool. I'm drawing a box with the text tool. I'm going to use right align because I'm going to want the stuff to kind of be on the right side, and I'm going to align it to the right side. And then of course I'm going to make it small. I don't want it to be super big text, so I'm going to shrink it down a little bit maybe. And what did we say? Humidity, H-U-M-I-T-Y, mid, M-U-I-D, I-T-Y, humidity, there you go. Oops, still too big. Let me make this a little smaller. It needs to be kind of tiny, but still seeable, maybe a little bit bigger. How about that? And how do they do humidity? What would a humidity in the summer be? I don't know. What would a number be? Is it from 0 to 100%?
Yes.
I think it is, right? So we'll say 85. And do you have the percent? Do you think percent too? Then you hit return, and what else did you say? Maybe feels like? No. No. This is one day. This is for one day. What else do we have? Humidity. Wind would be good. Wind. And that's in what? 5 MPS? No. MP what? H. Okay, maybe put a slash NW. Okay. I use lowercase so it doesn't look so distracting. And what else? Maybe what else? Oh, chance of rain. That's a good one. Chance of per PER SIP CIP. Is it per something like that? Okay, let's not do 0%. But you get the idea. Okay, if you want, you can actually add, if you have a box like this and you have a crazy background you can't see very well, put yourself a box over top of that. Maybe we put ourselves a rectangle over this. We put this in a rectangle box. Okay, and then we put it below in the layers window. We put it below our text, of course. And then we give it our color. I'm going to use my material design color. Which one am I using? This one? No. How about we use that one? Whatever this one is. No, that's not that one. That one? And then you can actually give it an opacity so that you can see the photo underneath it, right? So again, in the layers window, you can change the opacity. Here we go. So give yourself a nice slight, so you can still see the image coming up. So put an opacity there. That looks pretty good, doesn't it? Make sure it aligns maybe with the top of this. Maybe align things up. Make sure everything's aligned nicely. I'm going to move this up a little bit maybe. If you want to move things together, you can group them like you can group objects inside of Illustrator. To group things together inside of Photoshop, you group them in the layers window. So I want to group the temperature and the circle, and I want them to be together forever, right? They're friends forever. Okay, how do they do that? In the layer window, you have a little lock icon down here. See where it's like a little chain? It looks like a little chain right here, and you link the layers together, and when you link them together, it sees them as a group. And then you can move them anywhere you want and they'll move together.
And can we also
Link.
select the layers and do like merge?
Yeah, but then it won't be editable.
I see.
Yeah, we want them to, because what do you think we're gonna do for our next one? So here's our start. What do you think we're gonna do? We're gonna highlight all this stuff, aren't we? We're gonna highlight all these things for our next screen. Highlight all the content, right? And we're gonna use our move tool, and we're gonna hold our option key down, right? And we're going to move it into, and I'm gonna move it right into the layer over here. Oh, which layer do I want? No, wrong one. Hold on, I didn't do that right. I thought I could drag it. Oh, over here, you can actually drag from here into this layer and then move them over. Here we go, let's try again. Option in the layer window up to here. Option, click and drag in the layer window to the new artboard. And it puts it in there. That's how I wanted to do it. How did I do it? I'll do it again because it took me a while to figure that out too. So again, I select all the artwork. So look over here in the layer window. I have fall design, winter design, summer design, right? I take all the artwork that is here, and I'm going to hold the option key down, and I'm going to drag into the new artboard from the layer window. Remember, option key, click and drag in there to the new artboard and release the mouse, and it takes all that stuff and puts it in the new artboard. Did you see how I did that? Well, we recorded it, so I'm sure you guys can. Let me pause it. So So again, I'm working with my new artboard. I'm gonna close my summer one. If you don't want to mess with your summer one, you can lock it by clicking the lock. Oh, wrong locking. I wanted the summer one to be locked. Lock it. Now you can't mess it up. The lock is in the layer window right here, so I selected the whole summer artboard, the entire summer artboard, and I clicked the lock right here. There's a lock right here, and now I can't make a mistake over here with the stuff. It's locked. Okay, again, it's right here is a lock, lock, lock the whole layer. Okay, so now I have all my new artboard. So I'm going to bring in my new picture by using again place embed right here, place embed. And I'm going to try, what am I doing? Am I doing winter? I think I'm doing winter, aren't I? Where's winter? Here's winter. Okay. Oh, placed it in the wrong artboard, or why did it place it there? Here. Where is it? Where is it? Oh, it's up here. No. Where did it go? How do I know where it's at? Where did it place it? Oh, maybe I had the wrong artboard selected when I brought that in. Let me undo that. Make sure you have the right artboard. I'm going to have winter selected. And then go under File, Place Embed, choose my winter scene. I'm going to drag it. If it doesn't fit, I'm going to drag it a little bit bigger so it fits. I'm going to put it above my rectangle. So make sure you hit this. Put it above my rectangle. And then delete this one. Delete. So put it right above this rectangle that was there before. Notice how it automatically assumed that since you put it above the rectangle that you want to use the same thing. But of course the summer one is still there. So if you click on the summer one and trash it, yes, I want to get rid of it, it'll replace it with that one. Okay. Now of course I probably need to change my colors and my stuff. But all I did was place it above the rectangle that I had earlier, and it used the same effect of doing the clipping mask, and then I deleted the summer one. Of course winter would not be this date. What would our date be? Winter. What are we doing? How about 01? Oops, we didn't start with an O before. Let's do 1-11. 2017 would be winter coming up, and it'll be my birthday. So, and I have a class on my birthday. Sometimes I have classes that fall on my birthday. So, any questions about that? We recorded most of this again using text boxes, opacity, linking objects, making masks, using colors, aligning things nicely is important. I don't know what else I was going to cover today. This was a lot. Maybe background. How do I make the background of my artboard a different color? The ruler to measure things? I probably don't use the ruler as much as I would use the info window. If you go under Window, Info, and you select an object, it should tell you how big things are. So, or position. Usually it should tell you width and height here. Maybe you have to move it. Usually the width and height it tells you. I don't know why it's not. See? Click and drag. Usually it tells you when you click on something. I don't know why it's not doing that for me. Okay. Well, there is a ruler tool. It's right here. This one right here. You can use it to drag across an object. So I want to know how big this box is. I can drag across it using the ruler tool. And as I'm dragging, you get several different things. You get X and Y coordinates. You get the width up here at the top. right here. This is 1,005 pixels across. Here's the pixels up here. Over here it's showing me inches in the info window. So there is a rulers right here that will help you show you how big things are. So maybe that would help. So let's get to the artboard background color. Let's see, can we just change it here? I don't really know how to change the artboard background color. No, that didn't work. Oh, maybe this one? No, that didn't work. I don't know, let me pause this. So, artboard background color. So select the artboard, and it said go to the properties window. Oh, here it is, right here. Artboard background color. So maybe since this is an app, we can use a black background. Oh, my artboard is locked. Let's use this one. My artboard is not locked here. There we go. Maybe we'll want a black background. How about that? I don't know. So you can change the artboard background color. Of course, you might not want to use black. Black is not used a lot in, of course, material design. You might want to use, I don't know how to, maybe use your artboard color here. Oh, it's not dragging. Can I use that? No. How do I get this to be that? There we go. That looks a little happier. Maybe a little bit too many blues going on here, but hey, we can think it's blues. What's that? Works for winter. Don't use too many colors. I think many of you are using way too many colors. You should use monochrome scheme, one color scheme with one highlight color maybe, 2 colors at the most. Don't use too many colors. Simple tints of color. Read the material design color guidelines. They talk about that. You remember the tints, 50% of this or 20% of that or 40% of one color. Not changing new colors. Using percents of colors and so on. Okay, I'm feeling weak, so I'm going to stop this recording.